Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, you hear her laughing on the other end of the mic. It's Ellory Smith.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Very happy to have you, Ellory, especially because you chose a movie that I had like an inkling of maybe wanting to see, but I wasn't pushed over the edge of wanting to see it. It didn't compel me enough.
Well, I'm sorry to take 2 hours from you.
We're going to have a discussion
We're gonna
about
get
this
into
one.
it.
We're going to get into it. Halloween Ends. I liked it more than I thought I was going to based on what I've been reading about it, but it's definitely not like...
Oh, interesting.
I don't think it's a good movie still.
I had the opposite experience where I didn't read anything about it. I'd seen the last one. Mm-hmm. I have the AMC pass, so I'll see any movie that comes out, basically.
Same.
So my barometer for what I'll see is really low, but that doesn't mean everything is good.
Right.
And yeah, I just thought it did not hold up to the last one.
See, I didn't see the last one. I'd only seen the first of the David Gordon Green
interesting
iteration of it. What happens in it's Halloween Kills? Is that that's the middle one, right?
The TLDR is like... shit. Well,
Michael Myers kills a bunch of people.
Michael Myers kills a bunch of people, and then they go into whatever. The whole town is like freaking out over it, and then there's this big scene about the town is they're all locked in a hospital for some reason. I can't remember what got them there. And they're all they think Michael's in the building, and they're all trying to chase Michael up to the top floor, but it's somebody else who I think it's like somebody incapacitated who's living in the hospital.
Okay.
And they're all like, that's Michael Myers. So it's some weird commentary about like the woke mob or whatever, or about like cancer. I don't know. But
just what we want to see in a horror movie.
I know, exactly. And then this one was
ham-fisted cultural commentary.
And that's exactly what it was. And then this one was such a deviation from that message because at the end they all, not to spoil it, at the end they all go like a funeral procession for Michael Myers where they're like, we got him.
Yeah.
And
they have a nice moment where they all gather, the whole town gets together at midnight. They take him to the junkyard / mechanics.
And they feed him into a wood chipper.
Yeah.
That part was awesome.
That was pretty great.
Yeah, that was the one part I really liked.
Good practical effects. Anytime I see a good head explosion, I'm pretty on board.
I'll give it to them there, which is sort of like I think my real problem with the movie is I was sort of like, you know what you are, but you don't know what you are. Mm-hmm. Like it very much felt like it was both too campy and not campy enough. And I was like, if you just turn the dial all the way up and we like have a little bit more fun with it, I think it would be a little bit better.
Now, there's one of the major areas of critique I've seen a lot of people have with Halloween Ends is people who are huge fans of the overall franchise. Are you somebody who's
no, not really
there? No,
I will see anything. And then also, because I worked on Robot Chicken, we did like 1 million Michael Myers sketches.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I know a fair bit about the canon, but I haven't seen every movie.
Have you seen the original?
Yes, I've seen the original.
That's really, I guess, probably all you need to have to be set up for
also,
this.
Kyle Richards of Real Housewives fame. She's in every movie. So
she got nominated for, I think, Halloween Kills for like an MTV Movie Award for best scared
supporting actress.
But they, this is obviously the real deviation here. I think is that it doesn't feel, for all of the marketing of it, where it's like, all right, we got Michael Myers, he's going to be killing, he's going to be doing the Halloween thing all over again. This really is not quite a horror movie in the traditional sense. Like, I would say its marketing is probably the thing that is like much of a misdirect.
Yeah, I think maybe that's a good point. It's that the franchise machine kept turning, but this felt like a deviation rather than an update. Like, I saw the last Scream movie and I thought that was really good. And I was like, okay,
I loved Scream.
It was so fresh, it was so modern, but it was still very in the tradition of that sort of type of horror movie, and it still closed a lot of the loops on old characters.
Yeah.
And I thought this did none of that.
It feels like, it's interesting that you bring that up too, because I do feel like Scream and Halloween, there is sort of a commentary going on about those kinds of movies. But Scream, it's obviously so much more overtly meta within the confines of the movie, because that's the way Scream has always operated as a franchise.
Yeah.
And I can't say this enough because I don't have enough context for the gigantic Halloween franchise. But it feels like the theme of this movie is there's a lot of questioning going on of like how going through a traumatic event affects you and affects the way people perceive you, which isn't really a commentary on the genre so much as it is. It's like trying to probe a little bit deeper in ways that I feel like you don't really get to in a lot of more like slashery, classic kind of Halloween horror movies.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. What's interesting about, and you sort of said this, the Scream series, is that because with the first movie, it was always trying to do that. It was always a cultural commentary inside of a campy slasher movie. And then it felt like Halloween was trying to maybe shoehorn that in. And then also it was just inconsistent with how it answered those questions, right? So it was, at the beginning, it was very much like a commentary on like, oh, are Michael Myers born or are they made?
Right.
And then at the end, it was like, fuck this guy. He was born this way.
Yeah.
Like he's evil. and then also like, so I don't want to get too heavy into plot just in case somebody listens to this, they might watch, but whatever.
They can deal with it.
They can deal with it. You're probably not watching this. And also you're probably not waiting with bated breath what happens in Halloween.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Halloween Ends by now, then you're probably
too late.
You're too late.
It's November 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's November 2nd.
It is. It's going to be, by the time this comes out, it's going to be like almost Thanksgiving.
And so listen, you're way past, don't even bother at this point. So when after he kills the kid and whatever, the whole town treats him different, and we're supposed to think like, oh, it's not his fault. Like,
yeah, we should set up just for the context.
Yeah.
The first scene of the movie takes place after
Halloween 2019. I thought that was funny. I don't know why.
A year after the massacre, a year after Michael Myers went on his rampage, and a babysitter who is bad at his job. in multiple ways.
As a professional babysitter, I say we cut him some slack.
I went through the safe sitter program, and I do feel like they would have emphasized, hey, if the kid's going to lock you in an attic, just let it happen. Don't try and fight your way out of the attic.
Fair.
Don't bring a knife. Don't look like you're ever going to be in a menacing position.
That's so funny.
Don't call the kid a little shit.
The knife.
But he accidentally kills a kid.
Yeah.
The kid who like locks him in the closet and tries to freak him out.
He busts open the door knocks the kid off a banister, tumbles down 4 flights of stairs.
Yeah. I was trying to think of the physics of how the kid could have even fallen off.
Oh, that made me laugh so hard.
Banister.
It was like the flipping that I was imagining.
He had to have been sitting on top of the banister, pushing his legs against the door.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense because I just imagined him like pressed up his back against it, keeping the door closed.
Interesting.
But that's the only way that you're going to send a kid like soaring across a room.
And then he landed face down.
Yeah. And then right as the parents arrive.
Of course.
Great timing.
Great timing.
And then we have the mom screaming, "What have you done?" And then we cut to opening credits.
Opening credits, best part of the movie.
Great opening credits.
Great opening credits. I'm such a fan of that. And it was great. 90s style, long, like everything build up top. Excellent typography.
Yes.
Definitely, hands down, my favorite part of the movie.
And I love that they're still going with the, like in the OG Halloween, where we're seeing the very, just the slow zoom in on the jack-o'-lantern.
Yes.
But we also have, the theme is starting out here because we got a bunch of different jack-o'-lanterns.
I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
But as we were talking about before, so he kills this kid, and then later the Jamie Lee Curtis's character, who now suspects that this kid might be the new Michael Myers or there might be something wrong with him.
Right.
She runs into the dad of the murdered kid. And then the dad is like, yeah, what's the main kid's name again?
His name is Corey.
Corey. Oh, yeah.
Corey Cunningham.
Corey Cunningham. It kept making me think of Corey Worthington, that old video where it's like the Australian guy saying that. Doesn't matter.
I don't even know what this is.
Doesn't matter. Just a layer of the internet. Anyway, so the dad is like, yeah, Corey was a good kid. And then something in his eyes changed and now he's bad.
Yeah, he talks about like, hey, I was gonna apologize to him. Well, I saw him walking down the road, which makes no sense. How are you gonna have your epiphany?
And then he's like, actually, you looked kind of fucked up, so I drove away. And so the meta commentary is like, if something bad happens to you, it can make you a bad person, and people will hate you for that.
Yeah, and that's just gonna send you even further down
into the thing.
and then you're gonna go into a sewer where the actual killer has been hiding the whole time.
That part was crazy because I was like, okay, so now it supposes that Michael Myers has been living underneath the city. He's like still healing from wounds from 2018, and then it almost seemed like Corey was feeding him people. Like he brought the cop down there and he's like, have this one.
Little Shop of Horrors-esque.
Yes,
where he
was like feeding.
Yeah, Michael Myers. This is Audrey too.
Yeah,
but it's really because I think. I liked a lot of the imagery. I think they did a good job of, in the meta commentary vein, of having imagery and homage-y kind of things peppered throughout the movie to make you look at Corey and be like, oh, he's becoming Michael Myers again.
I thought it was a little ham-fisted.
I think
I feel like as soon as he killed the kid, I was like, okay, I know where this is going.
that's basically how I felt also. But I appreciated that they had we're going to have a shot where he's in the same blue jumpsuit.
Yeah.
We're going to have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting.
We're going to have in some of his sequences, it's going to be from his POV and him pulling out knives out of kitchen drawers the exact same way as Michael Myers did in the first Halloween. There's subtle things.
That was nice. Yeah.
I liked the subtle ways that they alluded to it, but the overt ways were definitely a little bit ham-fisted. They're really trying hard to make him be like an angry, brooding guy who's also, I guess this town I can't handle. We got to burn it to the ground. We got to burn. What's the Allison. That's the granddaughter's name.
Yeah, the girl's name.
How did you feel about the acting overall in this movie? I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis is far and away doing the best.
Yes. The book she was writing was such a hot piece of garbage that I was like,
yeah. It's going to be an airport bestseller for sure.
Yes. Yes.
She's going to be on the Kelly Clarkson show talking about it.
And you know what? Good for her.
Good for her. She deserves it.
She does deserve it. I thought Jamie was awesome. I thought Corey was pretty good. Everybody else, I was sort of like the two parents of the kids, specifically the kid that died. Yeah. I was like, you two are...
They're sort of in a different movie.
I
think I was also disappointed in Allison because there were moments where I felt like she was doing a good job, good acting. But there were also a lot of parts where it felt like they went with the first take, like the rehearsal take where she's just saying the line.
Yeah, definitely. It did feel that way. And I think what that was sort of manufactured inside the movie was there were a lot of points where Corey and Allison would be in an argument, and I would think they are not far enough along in their relationship to have this argument.
Yeah, I couldn't tell how much they had been sort of circling around each other beforehand. It seemed like
none at all.
It seemed like none at all, but they got so comfortable with each other so fast.
But to me, I'm like, that's a pacing issue.
That's exactly, yeah. It feels like I had no actual sense of time of how long things were taking in this movie.
But it felt like over the course of a weekend. It felt like that was Halloween weekend. Like they met Friday or Thursday, and then by Sunday or Monday, everybody's dead.
Right. After they go to a Halloween party.
And then they run into the mom of the kid. And I was like, everybody mourns differently. But if I was the bereaved mother of a murdered child who had a hard time seeing people out in public, I would not go to a Halloween party.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
I'm getting drunk in my house.
In my house. Or alone at a bar.
Yeah.
Not at a super... And she's 45. Everybody else there's 20.
Yeah.
Just a strange...
And where was the husband?
The husband wasn't there. I don't know that they're married anymore. You never see them together again.
Yeah, I don't think they're married. I mean, that'll tear a marriage apart.
That will tear a marriage apart. That's a famously complicated part about having a child die. And then their house stays empty, never goes back on the market. Nobody rents it, is not locked up at all. People
No.
just going in and out all day.
Yeah, just a gate. That's all. They've got a big chain link fence.
Yeah, and a big open window that
Yeah.
they keep stepping in and out of.
And they didn't even bother to clean up the blood stain to try and flip the house.
No, how could they? They'll just take a bath on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll take a bath. I mean, that house, even, probably like, it looked like a 7 or 8 bedroom house in
it's
Haddonfield, Illinois. 4 stories.
4 stories. Plus a basement, probably.
That's a boutique hotel waiting to happen.
Oh, definitely.
And they could have done that in Haddonfield, Illinois.
And you know what? That might have been a more interesting story because then you have a whole hotel full of people for Michael Myers to come massacre.
Yeah, then we get very Agatha Christie kind of vibes.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is I think that's a take that they could have gone on this genre instead of, well, there's evil is created sometimes too. I don't know if y'all knew that.
Yeah, but the thing about evil being created is that they just were so inconsistent with their belief in that. Mm-hmm. And so it felt like they were constantly like, yes, no, but maybe. And then it also sort of, they tried to do it again with how like the bullies were band kids. And then one of the band kids, his dad was really mean to him. And like, that's why he was a bully.
I did. I've never seen a jock band kid at the same time. And I really appreciated that.
I loved the mullet. The mullet was the other favorite part of my movie.
Yeah.
I was like, I want that haircut. It looked so good on that kid.
I wanted to be a drummer just so I could
carry around
drumsticks. It's his whole personality. I guarantee it.
Always has them. That was so funny. And then there was the one girl who was like, "Guys, I don't think that we should be doing this." And they were like, "Shut up!" And she was like, "Okay, you're right. Yeah,
yeah. I just want to be a part of something."
And then she kept going along with it, and I was like, "What?"
I did think that she was going to get spared by Michael Myers, Corey. But that didn't happen, unfortunately.
Oh, that scene was sick. Where he takes a monster truck and like pins the kid up against the chain link fence.
Yeah, just drives right up. I mean, they had some really good kills in this movie.
They had some good kills for sure. There was that was fun. There were some fun parts. But then when it came to the actual killing of Michael Myers, like the stabbing him in the kitchen, I was like, this feels. I don't know.
It felt like it was one jump scare too long.
Yes, exactly. Or it wasn't interesting enough.
But
then they strap him to the top of their car and drive him around
Now that's
town.
interesting.
That was interesting. I was like, okay, I'm back on board.
To take the choice of being like, all right, well, let's get all the ratchet straps that we have in the garage, and we're going to put them on top of the old Subaru and drive them through town. How did they get everybody in town on board so fast? The radio station's dead. They don't have any way of broadcasting.
That was an interesting touch of detail, was the Willie the Kid stuff. Yeah, that was crazy. And it, again, deviated from sort of the central message of like, oh, sometimes people are bad because things happen to them. Mm-hmm. And then these two are just like, fuck it.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Let's string him up and take him around town.
I think that, again, the kills were cool. There was some nice homage-y Michael Myers-y moments in there. My favorite was the overt reference to the original Halloween, where the nurse who gets the promotion because she's fucking the doctor gets stabbed and pinned on the wall.
Yeah, that was fun.
And then you get to the little Michael Myers head tilt. Classic. Great work. Thank you, David Gordon Green, for bringing that back. But it's a lot. There's so many characters in this movie that I wish had more screen time, because it felt like they were more interesting to the overall story that was being told and less of the people just getting screamed at for really no other reason other than to have exposition of why we should feel this way.
I think that's a really good way to sum it up. It felt like a lot of exposition and no character study.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I left the movie feeling like I hadn't spent time with any of those people.
Yeah.
And I only knew who Jamie Lee Curtis was because I knew her beforehand from the other, do you know what I mean? Like all of the returning characters, I'm like, okay, I understand what they're about.
Yeah.
But everything else, I was sort of like, who are these people? The Corey's mom and dad. I was like, okay, I get the dynamic, but I'm like, is that his dad? Is it his stepdad? Is that his mom's boyfriend? That's so.
Doesn't he say Uncle something at the mechanic shop?
I don't know, but that was a strange relationship that was like teased but never explored. Mm-hmm. And then all of the kills that happened there.
That whatever father figure he was, my favorite character that I wish we had seen
more of.
I
kind of agreed. I thought he was really interesting,
yeah.
and then the overlap there between because first of all, my dad was a mechanic. But the overlap that happens at the garage where the kids who were bullying Corey and then the girl, and then because it seems like a central place, everybody touches base because they all need their cars fixed.
Everybody knows about the local junkyard.
The local junkyard.
That's just where you hang out. Every horror movie needs a classic high school hangout. We're gonna go get drunk in a parking lot somewhere kind of spot, and the junkyard just happens to be that spot. I think
that spot full of free stuff.
Yeah. I think that I liked where that character went because I felt like he was sort of the window into what could happen if the town was not overtly against him. And I feel like that if the central, if the crux of the movie, if the central tension of the movie is supposed to be is evil born or is evil created, then I feel like we need to see a little bit more of the, hey, this is what happens if you allow people who like fuck up to have some people who are in their corner and just let them live like a quiet, normal life.
Yeah.
And not be yelled at.
It did sort of like remove the possibility of growth.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was not like a question so much as a statement where it seemed like because there was no counterexample, or I thought it maybe would have been more interesting if Corey had so he already killed the kid, right?
Right.
And he's not doing well.
No, he's doing very,
he's doing
very,
very poorly. He's definitely on the margins, on the edges. And then he kills one more person, but it's sort of out of self-defense because the guy's coming at him with a knife.
Right.
And so I thought at that moment it would be more interesting if we saw him being pulled back instead of going in deeper.
Yeah.
Because it's I read this really incredible book that they make the kids at West Point read called On Killing, and it's about how we sort of emotionally train people to go to war and kill other people.
Oh, interesting.
It was really good. It was very scary. But it really made me think about how we welcome people back into our societies after they've done something that is emotionally taboo for the rest of normal society.
Sure.
And some people are never able to come back to the middle. But the marginalization makes them more dangerous because they have less support. And so I thought it would be interesting if we had seen okay, well, what if Corey was able to get back involved? And then also I'm move out of town.
Yeah.
Scram, get out of here. Start
Scram,
over.
kid. Come
Scram.
on.
Yeah, literally.
Get out of here. I think, and there are moments where they're even having that conversation when they're like, we just gotta leave, we gotta burn it all down. And it's unfortunate that those scenes I felt were some of the worst of the movie.
Yeah, me too. But because I was you're not going to.
Yeah. Them on top of the radio station.
So boring.
I hated it so much. It was
when she's packing her bag. Yeah.
Which in stark contrast to how cool the kill in the radio station is, it's just it's uneven. That's the biggest.
It's uneven. I think that's a good comment on it.
I think there's a lot of big swings that are being taken in Halloween Ends. And there's also a lot of whiffs. There's a lot of misses. And I don't say this as somebody who's oh, I'm a big franchise fan. I can't believe what they did look how they massacred my franchise. I can't believe what they did. But it felt like they were reaching for something, and there was a lot of just kind of grasping at it.
It felt like a lot of grasping.
Without actually getting a handhold.
Going up to the bell but not ringing it ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a real sort of ding dong ditch kind of a movie.
Yeah, it did. I did really feel that way watching it, where I was sort of okay, I'm going to open the door and something's going to be there, and then nothing's there.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the way the movie is too. For a while, it's like I said, we're billing it as a horror movie. We're billing it as a Halloween movie. From the opening scene, we have the sound design and the editing of, oh, this is going to be your classic
traditional
slasher jump scare kind of a horror movie. And then we don't have really any of that. We have a little bit of the sound design that carries out. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. I
thought the sound design was great.
Even just the subtlety of when they're having their family dinner and the mom slurps the spaghetti and it sounds like a sort of squelchy, bloody thing.
I liked the use of the radio in the radio show.
Yeah. I like the radio. It's fun. It adds a nice layer of depth to the movie. in terms of just or not depth. I guess texture is probably the better.
Texture's a good word.
Yeah.
Connectedness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is not a particularly deep movie.
No.
And it's trying to be. And
I think maybe that was the issue where I was sort of like, you don't have to do that.
yeah.
I'm like, you either need to swing more camp and be like a little bit more aware of, what you are and what the franchise is, or you need to like commit to doing a serious take on the franchise.
Yeah. I think that I wish that if I had to pick, that's the direction I would have gone in. It felt like that is more in the vein of what would have worked for me, is seeing something that's a little bit more serious, a little bit more. It's funny. I'm reading now where David Gordon Green was talking about how he allowed the actors to do improv in this movie and to improvise funny lines.
Did you have any laughs at all in the movie?
I can't remember laughing.
Okay, no, me neither.
I don't think outside of when just out of like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is the kind of scene that they're about to have, where the doctor and the nurse are at his place, and the doctor is saying all of the like the shittiest, most obvious, like, hey, I'm going to come join you in the shower. How about that? Like those kind of lines. And then she goes and opens the box and pulls out the robe. And she just like all of the dialogue in that scene, I was laughing at how bad it was. And I was like, this could be this also feels like it's out of a different movie than what we're watching.
It definitely did. It felt like very 70s porno.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great house that they were at, though.
Great house.
Gorgeous house.
How does Haddonfield have all these insane
Where did they
cool
film it?
houses?
Oh, yeah, true.
I would assume, I mean, Haddonfield famously also, the original was based in LA. In terms of the actual filming location, the Halloween house I think is somewhere.
Like Pasadena, probably.
Yeah, Pasadena or
they
Sherman
filmed it
Oaks,
in
maybe.
Pasadena, for sure.
I know that the Thriller house is in Echo Park.
No way.
It's by Dodger Stadium.
No way.
It's a great place if you're ever looking for Dodger Stadium parking. Just search the Thriller house.
That's crazy.
And you can park there. But yeah, I mean, the critics really are not into it. It's got a 41 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm also like, here's my thing. Some movies are not for criticism. I'm just like, what did you expect?
Yeah.
What did you expect? I mean, everything is because of the budget. We should all be able to criticize it. But I'm also like,
oh, what's the budget on this movie? I didn't even look.
I would also like to know that, and I would like to know what box office returns are.
It tripled its return. So
No way.
The budget was $33 million. Current box office $96.2 million.
Fuck, I mean, whatever. Who am I to say shit?
People want to go see a horror movie.
People do want to go. That's the thing, is people do want to go see a horror movie. And I would say, as somebody who I like horror movies a lot, the swing between the good and the bad is so large. Like the breadth of the genre is wide.
Mm-hmm. Especially now as we are in the era of prestige horror being a thing.
Yeah, we really are, which has been great. But also sometimes I'm sort of like, okay, snooze fest.
I think it's unfortunate that sometimes prestige horror bleeds into fun slasher, campy kind of horror films.
One doesn't have to affect the other. And it's sort of how like I feel like the mid-range comedy has gone away. And I'm sort of like, both things can exist. One's not a challenge to the other. Like, you can have your saposexual movies, and then you can have your like junk food movies.
Yeah.
And they're all each good in their own way.
I love a junk food movie.
Yeah, no, me too.
They're fun.
They're fun. They're lighthearted. They're quick. They're 90 minutes. Yeah.
I feel like this actually this is from Richard Roper. This sums it up pretty well. He gave it 1.5 out of 4 stars. A little harsh. The so-called finale of the Michael Myers saga is just stabbing metaphors, stabbing soap opera, stabbing marching band bullies, stabbing and more stabbing, which is a pretty good summation of the movie.
Summation of it, yeah.
But 1.5 does seem a little bit harsh. In my mind, at least.
Sure.
What would you, if you had to?
I guess in my heart of hearts, I would have given it like 2 stars.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But what would you give it? Maybe 3. No, probably not 3.
I think I give it 3. Because I do appreciate the level it was trying to reach. And I do feel like if it had pulled off that more serious look,
Yeah.
then it would have been at like a 4-star or maybe 3.5-star movie. Because I can't guarantee that. Like,
so you're rating it on potential, what it could have been.
If I'm 4 stars is potential. Like, I think that's perhaps the ceiling that this movie could get to. But 3 stars, I feel like for me, I think that even though it does have a lot of scenes that I was cringing at and a lot of flaws, I still like that this is the theme that we're choosing to have as the driving theme of the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's good, it's timely, it's interesting. I just wish that there was a little bit more focus on that and not, hey, also Michael Myers has been in the sewer the whole time. It
did feel like a combination of 2 different types of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell, and I really wish that there was a more overt answer here. If Michael Myers was actually present at all of the other times that Corey was doing his kills. There's a few times where I was like, is Corey just like envisioning this happening, but he's actually doing it himself? Or is Michael Myers physically there participating in the kills?
Well, I don't know that he's participating, but I think he's there for most of the kills because he's there for the guy down in the sewer. He's there for the cop. We haven't even talked about the cop.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about the cop.
The cop was nuts. That was a weird detail.
What a weird guy.
Strange.
Just
strange. And then it was so funny because it's so funny to see in media sometimes people will make subtle commentary about the police, but then immediately take it back.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like this movie did that, where the cop was an asshole. He was using his powers to sexually harass this woman that he had dated. Then all of his friends were dicks at that bar or diner or whatever. And then he's proven right at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So it was like, what are we doing?
Cops are bad until we need them to run a funeral procession for a spree killer
that we want to publicly murder and hang in the middle of the street.
Yeah. How else are you going to get everybody on board with this feeding a guy into a car crusher unless you have the cops on megaphones on your side driving down your street?
That was so strange. And another detail that I noticed on my second watch through is that Corey's supposed to be this sort of like, nerdy engineering kid who's saving up money for college, and he wears a pinky ring the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was sort of like,
sell the pinky ring.
That is such a strange detail. Well, I was also like, who does that?
I don't know.
Not that they're not cool, just that it didn't match his character.
It did. He didn't strike me as the kind of guy who'd wear a pinky ring.
No, not at all.
Especially if you're doing a lot of stuff working in a mechanic shop where you're working with your hands.
Yes, you would not wear a pinky ring.
No,
exactly. I thought the same thing. I was sort of like, just a strange design detail that bumped me.
I wonder whose idea it was. I feel like maybe that was the actor's idea.
That's exactly how I felt. I was like, that's that guy's pinky ring.
Yeah.
And I was like,
he's like, I never take it off.
Yeah.
Well, you should have taken it off for Corey's sake. If you had to recommend a different movie than this one, perhaps in the horror genre, perhaps not, but something that you feel like accomplishes what you're looking for when it's like horror movie time, where do you tell people to go?
I really liked Barbarian this year. I saw it twice.
So good.
It was so good. It was so funny. Obviously, the director, Zach, is one of the whitest kids so he has a comedy background. Zach Crager.
Yeah.
It was so funny. It was so scary. There were lots of jump scares. I watched it in a theater twice. The reactions of the people I was around were amazing. They were magnetic. I felt it was exactly what I wanted from Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
But I was like, I feel very connected. It was so worth it to see it in a crowd and to hear reactions to the laughter.
Yeah.
Like the screaming. People were shouting out, which is typically not something I like in a movie. But for this, I was like, it was awesome. It felt like being on a roller coaster ride.
I felt the exact same way. I saw it, and one of the things I loved the most was the outbursts from the crowd at different parts. I was just it felt like a whole experience.
Yes.
In the way that I think everybody who goes to see movies in theaters a lot hopes that happens.
Definitely. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes I like a quiet movie that's like a personal experience with me in the film.
Oh, yeah.
But this felt so communal, and I loved that so much. The second time I went with Issa Medina, who's a comedian.
Oh, I love Issa.
She screamed 10 minutes in, and I was like, locked and loaded. This is going to rock.
Oh, man. It's, if you haven't seen Barbarian, I did, I just talked about it on I was talking about it on the last episode, which I hated.
It the movie?
It the movie, yeah.
The new one?
The new one. No, I get, the one from.
Part 2?
No, part 1.
Part 1.
Not a fan. But I think Barbarian, I mean, hey, if there's ever a good recommendation to go see Barbarian, we're talking about it 2 weeks in a row. Go see Barbarian.
It was so good. I mean, obviously it's top of mind because it just came out, but it really was. I don't know if it will be my favorite of the year, but it will be number 2 probably.
Yeah, it's not my favorite of the year. I don't even know if it would be.
For the genre, it's absolutely my favorite of the year.
Oh, for the genre, yeah, no question. Actually, you know what? I feel like I liked Scream just a little bit more than Barbarian.
Scream was so good. And the thing about Scream was watching Scream, I left the theater and immediately went to go watch all the other Screams. I was like, I liked that so much. I want to start the journey again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is all you can hope for from a filmmaker's perspective,
True.
I think.
To be like, oh, I liked it so much. I want to go back. And then I was also like, because I like Scream once. I love Matthew Lillard. I love Jamie Kennedy. Just like sort of that 90s, like David Arquette.
Yeah.
So I went back and watched the first one and I was like, fuck, it's such a good movie.
It's such a good movie. And it's like what if I were a filmmaker, I'm like, that's exactly what I would want to do. Like, it's just so tight. It's fun. It's paced beautifully. The energy between the actors is great. Yeah, I loved it. Ellory, this has been a very fun episode. Thank you for coming on. Where can the listeners check out your work if they want to see what you got going on?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at Ellory_Smith or on Twitter at Ellory Smith. I'm a TV person, so I don't talk about movies all that much. But I used to have the movie pass. I was a big movie pass user. I held on to it for like 2 years after it died. And this year I finally got AMC stubs and now I'm back into movies and I'm loving it.
There you go. AMC stubs, the way to go.
The way to go.
If you want to follow the podcast at Blockbusting Pod on all the social media platforms, also consider subscribing on Patreon if you want to get some bonus content, support the show, support the wonderful producers, Ben and Melanie, who are helping make things run smoothly in the background. And if you want to follow me at Diet J on all the social media platforms, Ellory. Thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.